Hey guys, Victor here, coming at you again with another deck profile, and for today's video we're going to be doing an updated Lightsworn Tearlament deck. Now, while I don't think this is the best way to play Lightsworn or Tearlament, it's still a really fun version just because it's incredibly easy to be able to just mill your entire deck on turn 1 and just completely overwhelm your opponent. And just like in general, this deck is very hard to stop, much like normal Lightsworn or Tearlaments, right? Because your opponent is basically going to have some kind of like 2, maybe even 3 interruptions to try and slow you down, and even then that's sometimes not enough, as you can just high roll your opponent to pretty much like the easiest win of your life. But yeah, with that out of the way, let's just jump straight into the deck profile. Now, as always, we're going to be starting off with the monster lineup first, so as a result, we're going to be playing 3 Lightsworn dragonling still, by far the best card to come out of Legacy and Destruction when it comes to Lightsworns, as when you have a Lightsworn monster in your graveyard, you can special summon this card from your hand. Then, if this card is special summoned, you get to foolish any Lightsworn card from your deck to the grave. So it literally just gets your entire engine going, and it's really good whether you're starting with it or if you're using it to just extend further after your opponent's wasted all their resources. Like, this card is just insane. And then when it's sent to the graveyard, you get to search your deck for any dragon with 3k attack, 2600 defense, which means you can search for Judgment Dragon or Punishment Dragon. But because this isn't a pure Lightsworn deck, we're only going to be playing Punishment Dragon, as it's a dark monster that does have a little bit more synergy with like your Tearlament stuff, and is pretty good at helping you like recycle your resources. Then, to go with our 3 dragonlings, we're playing 3 Weiss Lightsworn archfiend. This is the guy that stacks the bricks from your hand on top of your deck, as you take your Wulfs, your Felises, and if you play it Lightsworn Aegis, you take it from your hand, you put it on top of your deck, you get to special summon your Weiss, and then you get to mill 2 cards, with one of the cards being the card that you stacked. So much like Dragonling, it's basically full combo. It just takes a little bit more setup because instead of needing a Lightsworn monster in your graveyard, you're going to need one in your hand. But it's still a really phenomenal card. And then when it gets milled, you're able to special summon any Lightsworn monster from your graveyard except for Weiss. So, it keeps extending further and allowing you to combo even faster and harder. So yeah, 3 Weiss, much like Dragonling, very good. Then we're playing 3 Wulf Lightsworn Beasts. Not much needs to be said. If it's milled, it special summons itself. And the same thing for this, we're only playing 1 Felis, as when it's milled by a monster effect, it gets to special summon itself. Just good general extenders that open up plays to your synchros and exceed your lengths way more easily. Then for the other one of Lightsworn that we're playing, just 1 Raiden, Hand of the Lightsworn. It's okay, if you don't have a Reinoheart, this is pretty much going to be like your go-to normal summon in most situations. And even then, this card is still just phenomenal to mill because we do play cards like Cross Sheep. So say for example, you end up milling this, whatever, it's fine. At some point, because you play the fusion monsters, you're going to be able to bring back a card with Cross Sheep, and this card being a tuner that mills 2 more cards it's just invaluable. And then for the final portion of the Lightsworn engine, we're just playing 1 Punishment Dragon. We don't really use the effect to recycle our cards all too often, but it does come up somewhat. This is basically just because it's a level 8 monster that you can special summon for Zombie Vampire, and you can fusion summon with it. So it does have like a lot of really cool utility, and even if you're not doing that, once you get 4 Lightsworn monsters with different names in your Banish Zone, it's just a free 3k beat stick, which can allow you to end the game pretty much in an instant when you combine it with all your other cards. So yeah, with that's the Lightsworn portion. Now we can focus on the Tearlament portion. So that means we're playing 3 Tearlaments Kashtira, also another phenomenal card, as when it's normal or special summoned, you get to mill 3 cards from either the top of your deck or your opponent's deck, and we just like milling, let's be honest. So we just pretty much want to max out on these cards that allow us to mill as many cards as possible in order to extend as long as possible. Then to go with our 3 tier cache, we're playing 2 Tearlaments Reinoheart. I'm constantly going back and forth if I want to play 2 or 3, just because this is technically still the best normal summon in the deck, especially when you combine it with cards like Tearlaments Scream, as whether your mills are bad, whether you're going first or second, at least you're gonna be able to play the game during your turn and your opponent's turn. And even if like you don't hit like a fusion monster, right, it's fine, because just going normal summoning Reinoheart and sending tier cache can sometimes just be more than enough to full combo your opponent for the game. But yeah, you definitely have to play at least 2 Reinhardts. 1 is never the correct option, but 2, maybe 3. Then for the other tiers, you play the 1 Scheiren, the 1 Havnis, and the 1 Merlli. We're only allowed to play 1 of each, so we only play 1 of each. They fusion summon for the most part. They help us extend further during our turn and our opponent's turn. They're just really good cards. And that's it for the tier portion, but we do play a couple of other monsters as well. First up, we're playing 2 Beastking of the Swamps. So we're playing Toadally Awesome and Bahamut Shark, so this card just allows us to have like another additional water monster to make those more easily. And I also wanted something that we could mill that would allow our Tearlaments to be activated a little bit more frequently, because All the Lightsworn monsters are light, hence the name Lightsworn. So they don't really have too much synergy when it comes to like actually milling a tier name, for example. And a lot of the times, if you don't have like a Beastking of the Swamp or just like another tier monster on the field or in your graveyard or hand or whatever, they're basically just like useless mills, or you're gonna have to wait later in the turn to be able to use them. So just having something like Beastking of the Swamps to allow us to have a little bit more flexibility in our plays is just invaluable. But yeah, just 2 is fine. And then for the final ones, we're playing the 1 Mudora and the 1 Keldo as shufflers. And these are probably like the biggest what ifs in the deck that I don't really know if I want to keep playing them, at least in the main. Honestly, they're definitely more suited to the side because every time I went first, which doesn't happen often, but it does happen sometimes, and I open up with these cards, it's kind of like one of the worst feelings in the world, or not the worst feelings in the world, but if you're going second, for example, you just don't want to have these in your hand, right? So I guess I said that wrong, but what I mean to say is that these cards are more suited for the side for when you're guaranteed to go first, because when you go second and you open up with them, they're basically just bricks in your hand that don't really help you accomplish much of anything. Especially because we don't play cards like Super Polymerization or just things like Droplet to get them out of our hands immediately and immediately disrupt our opponent's graveyard. So yeah, definitely considering moving these to the side and bumping up cards like Felis to maybe 2, maybe even 3. I don't know. There's a lot of things that you can work on with this deck to just improve it further, and I'm by no means the authority, right? So yeah, with that, that's the monster lineup, and then we can finally move on to the spell and trap portion of the deck. Now that we're finally on the spell and trap card portion, we're basically just playing like a bunch of cards to help boost our consistency for the most part. So as a result, we're playing 3 Primeval Planet Perlereino, as on activation, it searches any tier monster and boosts all your guys by 500 attack that are tiers or fusions, and when a tier gets shuffled back into the deck, you get to pop a card. So this card honestly just does it all. However, I really don't feel like it's needed at 3 in this specific version, just because we do play cards like Visas Amritara, which means that this card is pretty much searchable at any given moment as long as you can get to the Visas. And I don't know, when you open like multiple of the field spells, you don't really feel all that great. So it's just something to consider. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to let me know down below. I'd love to hear them, honestly. But for now, we're going to be playing 3, even though I do feel, in all honesty, this card could be cut down to 1. You can play more cards like board breakers or hand traps. But that's just me. What do I know? What do I know, right? Then to accompany our 3 Primeval Planet Perlereinos, we're playing 3 Triple Tactics Talent. This is the only card that we play that has any true interaction with our opponent during first turn or second turn, as, let's face it, you're going to get hit with a hand trap at some point. It's going to happen. And this pretty much allows you to either loop your opponent's hand, take an opponent's monster, or draw 2 cards. All 3 effects are very solid and help you hopefully win the game a lot more easily. But I definitely felt like this one is better overall than playing something like Super Polymerization or Forbidden Droplet currently, at least in this specific deck. So yeah, 3 talent. And then for the final 3 of spell, we're playing 3 Charge of the Light Brigade. This is by far the best worst card in the deck. And what I mean by that is, while this card is phenomenal, it's also like a double-edged sword, because if you mill any Tearlament monsters off of this card, you do not get their effects, as they will be milled for cost. And there are a lot of situations that I personally came up with where I hit like a sulliek, a Reinoheart, a Tear Cache, whatever, and I just wouldn't be able to use their effects, and it felt so bad having key resources like that just being wasted. But you still need the 3 Charge of the Light Brigade, because it does give you access to literally your entire Lightsworn engine. So, you know, it's a love-hate relationship. You love when you mill triple Wulf, you hate when you mill triple Tear Cache. But yeah, 3 charge, gotta play it. And then that's it for the 3-0s. And then for the rest of the spells, we're playing 2 Tearlaments Scheiren. So this is something that I actually consider bumping up to 3. And if I do end up moving the shufflers to the side deck, this is definitely going to be one of those cards that I'm going to be putting at 3 immediately, just because you pretty much always just want to open up with it, right? As whether you're going first or second, having this, being able to mill 3 cards the moment a tier card hits the field, or if you already have a tier monster on the field, any type of summon will trigger its effect to mill 3, and we just enjoy milling, right? And, you know, the additional bonus of being able to lower your opponent's monster's attacks by 500 for the rest of the turn does come up very frequently. And as if that wasn't good enough, when it's milled, you get to search for your Tearlament traps. So, you know, just a really good card that I'm definitely considering bumping up to 3. Then for the other spells, just play 2 1-0s, being the one Tearlament's Grief, as it basically acts like Foolish Burial. You just special summon anything, any tier monster from your deck, and then you send something with the same type or attribute. You can special summon a tier monster, then send itself. Or in the case of like Raiden and Reinoheart, right? Raiden is a warrior, Reinoheart's a warrior. You go normal Raiden, mill 2, activate Grief, special your Reinoheart, send the Raiden, and then you get to activate your Reinoheart's effect. So, there is a lot of synergy that can be crossed over between the Tearlaments and the Lightsworns thanks to cards like Grief. So, yeah, definitely got to play at least one, and then you just play the one Foolish Burial because it's just a good generic one-up that gives you access to whatever you may need. That's it for the spells, and then for the traps, you just play 2 sulliek, which is a monster negate, and it's when it's milled by card effect, you're able to search for any Tearlament monster. Or not even milled, just sent to the graveyard by card effect. So if it's like set, your opponent like lightning storms or dusters you, it will trigger. Or if you like discard it from your hand to summon Reinoheart, it will trigger. This card just phenomenal. And then for the final card, I still really like Lightsworn Aegis, even though I can't win a die roll. I have faith that I will eventually, which is why I want to include this, as it pretty much gives you protection from pretty much anything, right? It stops your opponent's talents, their thrust, their forbidden droplet, as long as they don't send a trap. It really is just that good of a card. And then you typically have to pair it with like other negates as well, which means that if you go first and you were able to set this up, you've basically just won the game right then and there. So with that, that's the main deck. 40 cards like always, and now we can finally move on to the extra deck. Now, for the extra deck, we're going to be starting off with the Exceed monsters first, and as a result, we're playing one Bahamut Shark. Very easy card to make because we played the Reinohearts, the Beastking of the Swamps, and thanks to Dragonling being able to search out Punishment Dragon, we're pretty much going to have access to cards like Mud Dragon almost pretty much whenever we want, as long as we hit Dragonling first. So, yeah, like I said, very easy card to make, and the only thing we're summoning off of this is Toadally Awesome, who is an Omni Negate that protects our cards. If it's able to destroy the card it negates, it sets it to your side of the field, and as if that wasn't good enough, when it's sent to the graveyard, you're able to add any water monster from your grave to your hand. So it can add back like Tear Caches or Reinohearts to help give you follow-up later on in the same turn or during your next turn. So yeah, just a really good, solid little mini engine to play. Then for the other Exceeds, we're playing one Minerva the Exalted Lightsworn. You mill 3 cards. For every Lightsworn card you mill, you get to draw a card, which, just helps you extend and hopefully beat your opponent even sooner. And then if it's destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effect, you get to mill 3 more cards. For every Lightsworn monster or spell or trap you mill, you get to destroy a card on the field. And I'm gonna be honest, that effect pretty much never comes up anymore, just because games are usually over by turn 1. But that's just how Yu-Gi-Oh goes. And then for the final Exceed monster, the Zombie Vampire. You summon it, you mill 4 cards from your deck and your opponent's deck, and then you get to special summon 1. What can I say? Milling is good. And even though we only play the one Punishment Dragon in the main deck, it's still incredibly easy to bring out pretty frequently, if I'm being honest. And that's because we're playing one Minerva the Athenian Lightsworn. On summon, for every Lightsworn material used to summon it, you get to send 1 Lightsworn monster from your deck to the grave. And that's typically going to be 2 monsters that you use to summon this. So as a result, you're going to be able to pretty much have like another level 4 tuner with another level 4 non-tuner. And what you're going to be summoning off of that is your Visas Amritara, who is the card that's able to search out any Tearlament spell or trap from your deck to your hand. And, that combo is really good because you're going to send this to make this, or you're going to summon this, send 2 to make this. This is search out your Tearlament spell or trap, whichever one you're missing. And then your Minerva is going to be able to mill 4 more cards on top of that. And then once you're done with that, you overlay both of them for your Zombie Vampire, and you mill 4 more cards. So once the Minerva hits the field, and if it resolves, things really do get out of hand very quickly for your opponent. But yeah, that's it for the Synchro monsters. Then for the links, we're playing one Cross Sheep. What can I say? It brings back key resources from your graveyard and just allows you to be really flexible, whether you're fusion summoning to bring back monsters. It also allows you to help you beat sticks, because if you summon a synchro monster to a zone it points to, all your monsters gain 700 attack. If you summon an Exceed monster to a zone it points to, all your opponent's monsters lose 700 attack. And we don't play rituals, so that effect doesn't matter as much. But it can also sometimes come up if you play against Voiceless Voice, for example, right? You take a monster, whether it's their, it doesn't matter, one of their ritual monsters, and then you get to draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. So sometimes it comes up, not frequently, but this card, the flexibility that it offers you is just unmatched. Then you play the one IP Masquerena, whose only goal is to go into SP Little Knight, who's broken, as it banishes a card on summon if you use an extra deck monster as material. It helps you dodge cards like Imperm or Effect Veiler during your turn, your opponent's turn, whatever. This card just does it all. Then for the only other link monster, we're playing just one Apollousa Bow the Goddess, because it's very, very easy to clog your field. So we're going to play some kind of link 4 to just help mitigate the scenarios that we run into where we just have too many cards on the field that we can't get rid of. And that's it for the links. And for the fusions, you're playing the one Mud Dragon of the Swamp, the one Garura Wings of Resonant Life, and the 1 Predaplant Dragostapelia. Now, while we don't main Super Polymerization, these cards are still very easy to make and pretty much allow you to just recycle your tier fusions, so that's why we're still including them. Because we played the Beastking of the Swamps, we're playing 1 Root Coloss. It's just a good generic monster negate, but if you really want, you could also just play like Grappa, for example. It doesn't really matter which one you play. They're both really solid. And then for the final fusion, we're playing 1 Kaleidoheart, as Kaleidoheart is broken because it's able to foolish cards when it's destroyed and sent to the graveyard. It brings itself back once per turn. On summon, it shuffles away a card on your opponent's side of the field back into the deck. This card is just insane. And with that, that's the Lightsworn Tearlament deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya!